Yo, what's going on? This is Tony also. I'm just following up on the results of the Subriel Matias Ergashev fight, which was a very interesting fight, interesting matchup. A lot of people had not everybody, but the a big portion of fans or people that didn't know too much about Ergashev and Subriel Matias, they assumed just because Ergashev's record was so impressive with 23 and 0 and 20 KOs, which now he has one loss by Subriel Matias. They went by the record, thinking that he was gonna pose a lot of problems for Subriel because of the distance that he puts with his jab, but they didn't realize that his jab was used for distance and it wasn't really used with a lot of power. His right hand, his hook is powerful, but the jab itself, he used it for distance, so he can keep the fighter at bay. And then when the fighter comes to him, he would use the right hand. But that's all he had was one hand. He used the jab, but he was trying to lure Subriel Matias in, but Subriel Matias intentionally kept his guard up, which a lot of people don't give Subriel Matias credit for his defense. According to his style, he does have a good defense. I'm not gonna say that it's like Pernell Whitaker or Mayweather, but his defense is made for his style. A lot of the punches that Ergashev was throwing at Subriel Matias were landing on the gloves, and he was just feeling out his power. That's what Subriel Matias said in an interview. After the fight a few days ago, I saw the interview in the Spanish channel, and in Pro Box TV with Rafael Marquez, they interviewed him, and he said that he purposely was feeling out, Ergashev's power by putting his guard up, and the way the punches felt on his wrist, he could determine whether he could go inside or not. Because if he actually starts fighting right away and goes straight at Ergashev, Ergashev is going to start running because of the style that Subriel has. He throws like 100 combinations per round. In this fight, he threw, I think, in the early rounds, he threw like 63. But then as he got stronger, the fourth round, fifth round, he started throwing 100 punches. 100 punches. That's what Subriel Matias said, because he felt the way he trained in the mountains, of Mexico. He's from Puerto Rico, Boricua, but he trains in the mountains of Mexico, and that gives him like a certain stamina. But he makes sure that his trainer doesn't overtrain him, because he could overtrain if he trains in the mountains. Like, so he has to have a good trainer that knows, okay, this day you're gonna rest, you're not gonna train, you're just gonna run. You're not gonna do any sparring or punch in the bag. So there's certain days that his trainer would tell him not to go full throttle, just run this day, based on the intensity of how he trains in the mountains of Mexico, Itipico. So he basically was saying in an interview that he was making sure that he studied how Ergashev was according to his opponent. That's how he determines how much he's gonna throw and land. So he wanted to like make it like a round where he studies him. He puts his hands up. Subriel Matias put his hands up, his guard up, and all the punches that Ergashev was landing was mainly on his guard. And it wasn't that he was purposely giving him a round. He wasn't trying to do that. He was feeling him out to see how strong he is. So when he got to after the first round in the corner of Subriel Matias, he said that that he doesn't have anything. Like Ergashev doesn't have enough power to do anything to me. So I'm gonna go full throttle. So his trainers told him just go full throttle. So after the second round, like towards the end, that's when he started picking up the pace of the fight. And as soon as he started doing that, Subriel Matias, they know, Ergashev, he began to give up. Like he slowly started succumbing to the pressure of Subriel Matias, because as the rounds increased, round 3, 4, 5, Subriel Matias was landing a lot of shots on him, and he was throwing short uppercuts and short punches on the inside. And that's where his advantage is. So he really set up Ergashev to actually overthrow and think that he was gonna like push Subriel Matias back, but he realized Subriel Matias told the people in the interview that Ergashev realized that all the opponents that Ergashev was fighting were made for him. They don't fight back enough. They don't have enough arsenal or combinations. That's why he was able to knock him out. But he never fought nobody like Subriel Matias. So when Subriel Matias raised up the combinations in towards the middle of the second round, that's when Ergashev realized he's fighting with a different type of animal. He's fighting with a boxer that has boxing defense but more offense. But the offense that he throws is strategic. He knows when to throw a lot of combinations, and he has to feel your power. So the first round was like a strategy to keep his hands up and make sure that he knows, okay, if he could go in or not. But if he felt that his power was too much, he would have studied more and throw a jab or hook every now and then and block until he figured him out where was the right time to hit to actually go for the kill. So that's what Subriel Matias does. He's methodical in his approach. So a lot of people like in Pro Box TV, Paulie Malignaggi and Chris Algieri, they're underestimating Subriel Matias because Subriel Matias has defense according to his style. He keeps his guard up and he makes sure that when it's the right time to go for the kill, he feels your power with his wrist when he has his guard up. Once he knows that your power is not going to do nothing to him, he goes for the kill. And he goes throws a whole bunch of combinations. So that's why when he first started in the fight, he was throwing 63. So he was throwing lower combinations, more defense. So that's still a lot though. And then a lot of the opponents that fight Subriel Matias, for people to say that he has no defense, they're really not paying attention. They're blindly watching his fights and they're watching it with a bias because, Sean Porter said on his show, the Sean Porter podcast, he said that he was biased and that he had Regis Progress as the number one. But how could you put Devin Haney and rank him number 2 or number 3 when he's not even officially in that weight class? He is so biased. He said that he still doesn't have Subriel Matias number 3. He doesn't know what he's talking about because Subriel Matias is a natural 140 pounder and he's making people quit. He's knocking people out and he's making them quit and he's fighting undefeated fighters with skills. And I'm not gonna say Ergashev is at the elite level like the Devin Haney's, but the Devin Haney's will have problems with Ergashev because Ergashev has enough power to actually hurt any of those fighters of Regis Prograis, Rolly Romero, Rolly Scamero, like Rolly Fake Arrow, is a phony champion. He's not a real champion. And Ryan Garcia. None of these fighters are real boxers, elite, established boxers. They're just he's a social media boxer. Ryan Garcia. He's a social media guy, and he hasn't accomplished anything to even be in the ring with the fighters that he fought when he fought Tank Davis. He didn't even deserve that fight. But I feel like a fight like Subriel Matias proved in this fight that he knows how to deal with a jab, and he does have a jab himself. And when he started throwing jabs at Ergashev and throwing combinations at Ergashev, he started breaking them down. And I predicted the 6th round that the fight would end, but the fight really ended in the 5th because he didn't come out for the 6th round, Ergashev, because he said his leg hurt. But I think that was just a front because he knew that he was not going to be able to deal with the pace that Subriel Matias brings. He has an intense training, and the way he trains is super intense that a lot of the boxers can't keep up with his pace because he trains to annihilate his opponents. And I'm not just saying that, but he's proven that he deserved to be recognized as top 3 or top 2 because Rolly Romero is not no top 3, and Devin Haney is not no top 3 because he's not even officially in the weight class. So I think Chris Algieri and Paul Malignaggi and Sean Porter, he needs to they need to do their homework. They need to stop being biased and just brown nosing Teofimo Lopez. That's what Sean Porter was doing. He was actually kissing up to him, and he was trying to say that he still don't have Subriel Matias, in his top three. That Subriel Matias is strong. He's a good puncher, and you know he's dangerous. But he didn't give him credit for his defense. He's a way better defensive fighter than Sean Porter. He would beat Sean Porter. Subriel Matias would knock Sean Porter out. Sean Porter has shown me that he's a fanboy when it comes to Regis Progress, but he's not a realist. He's not somebody that's basing it on credentials of. He's not actually watching Subriel Matias's fights. He doesn't look at the technicalities, the subtle stuff, technical abilities that Subriel Matias has, because Subriel Matias, he does have a good jab, and his defense has improved a lot, and he does have defense because a lot of the opponents, most of his opponents that he fights only land 19% to 22% of their punches. That's not a lot of punches. That's not a lot of punches. So where these guys, these so-called boxing pundits, Chris Algieri, Paul Malignaggi, and Sean Porter, getting their boxing observations from? They're not paying attention. They're not focusing on everything that's happening in the ring. And I just feel like it's a shame that you have boxing pundits like these giving their opinion in a biased way when they're not really fully giving credit to the boxer, for what his abilities. These guys do not see the boxing defense that Subriel Matias does have. He has a brawling style, but he does keep his hands up, and he has a strategy in the way he comes forward and throws a lot of combinations. He feels you out, defense, and he steals the punches in the wrist. And a lot of times the punches don't land on him. It's like his own hand is landing on his face because he's blocking. And yes, Ergashev did throw a jab. They kind of like threw Subriel Matias off balance in I think it was the second or third round. I think it was the first or second round. And Subriel Matias was like, he was fine. Like he wasn't hurt any time in the fight. But Ergashev was definitely afraid to go back in the ring because he looked for an excuse to end the fight, to get out of the fight. It's like he was waiting for somebody to jump in with a parachute, like they did with the Riddick Bowe and Evander Holyfield fight back in the days, and that wasn't happening. So he had to find a way to quit. And Subriel Matias was gonna knock him out because the volume that he throws and the power and the pressure, it gets to a lot of the boxers. And Subriel Matias is he's underrated, and his defense is underrated. And a lot of so-called boxing pundits are not paying attention to the subtle, great defense that he does have, considering that he has a brawling style. He does have speed. He has a lot of speed, but people do not give him credit. People like Chris Algieri, Sean Porter, and Paul Malignaggi do not give him credit for his speed and his defense. They only focus on his brawling style, but they don't focus how he establishes control with the jab and the defense. He fights with his guard up. That's something that's overlooked by a lot of so-called boxing experts that think they know, but they really don't know. A lot of people are really sleeping on Subriel Matias, and I feel like Subriel Matias is going to get his just due, especially after this fight, because they're talking about promoting him in a Choliseo de Puerto Rico. In Puerto Rico, he's going to go on a show called One on One with a lot of boxing influencers over there. There's a boxing influencer that a lot of people are starting to take notice who Subriel Matias is, and he's blowing up in Puerto Rico. He's actually gaining a traction in Puerto Rico after all this time that a lot of people weren't really knowing who he is. But after this fight, he got a lot of eyeballs on him because David Benavidez, who's one of my favorite fighters, him and Subriel Matias, he looked great against Andrade, Demetrius Andrade. Demetrius Andrade was very competitive at first, but I feel like Subriel Matias and David Benavidez have a similar style, but I think that Subriel Matias throws more combinations than him. But I just feel like they have similarities, and then people overlook their defense, But I think people are starting to recognize that Canelo has been avoiding David Benavidez, and he hasn't been stripped of the belt like the way they stripped Terence Crawford, which is wrong. It's a double standard in boxing. They actually, I think, do that because I think that since Canelo, he's a star and he sells a lot of his fights. They sell. So it has to do with that, with boxing economics and politics, but it could be discrimination too. So I just feel like if they strip Crawford, they should strip Canelo. They should strip him too. He didn't fight David Benavidez for 2 years. He's been avoiding David Benavidez, and now David Benavidez earned his shot. And Canelo is fighting Munguia. Munguia is not an elite boxer. He's a good, entertaining brawler, but he hasn't looked dominant in a lot of his fights. And I feel like it's just a fight to sell because he's a Mexican, he's undefeated, and Canelo contradicts himself all the time. He's very hypocritical. He says he wouldn't fight no Mexicans, but he knows what Mexicans to fight. He fought Chavez, over the hill Chavez, who wasn't in his prime. He fought a lot of fighters that were over the hill that were Mexican. He didn't fight anybody that's dangerous like David Benavidez, but he knows what Mexicans to fight. He says that he represents Mexico. He don't fight Mexicans, but he knows what Mexicans to fight. He doesn't want to fight the Mexicans. They're going to pose a threat to him, and he doesn't want to pass the torch to David Benavidez. I don't blame somebody not wanting to pass the torch, but if you're a great fighter, you should fight all comers. It shouldn't matter. You should believe in yourself, and you should fight all comers. But obviously, he doesn't want to fight David Benavidez because he probably feels that David Benavidez is too good and too strong, too big, and too young that he knows he's going to lose. He must know in his mind, in the back of his mind, Canelo Alvarez, that he's going to lose. That's why he doesn't want to give David Benavidez a fight. Hopefully, we get a fight in September. Instead of May is supposed to be Munguia fighting Canelo Alvarez, but I feel like Subriel Matias is he's a threat to the 140-pound division, and I feel like now that his name is gaining traction, Teofimo Lopez, he called him out. He said he was a coward. Said Teofimo Lopez, tú eres un cobarde. He told Teofimo Lopez a coward. He called Regis Progress. He called I don't think he called. Yeah, I think he called Ryan Garcia. He called Regis Progress, Devin Haney. He called everybody. Tank Davis. He said, Tank Davis, do you want this? You want this belt? And he's like telling him, come and get it. Like that's what he was insinuating. So Subriel Matias, that was good what he did to call out all the names because those so-called elite boxers are afraid to mention Subriel Matias' name. And I feel like if they're afraid to mention your name, that says something about Subriel Matias' aura, like the aura that he sends out. Like he makes people quit. He put somebody in a body bag. Ergashev, rest in peace. Not to glorify it, but a lot of boxers are really avoiding Subriel Matias because he actually is a killer. Like Timothy Bradley. I got so much respect for Timothy Bradley because he gives credit where credit is due. And he said that Teofimo Lopez hasn't fought anybody that was active at 140. He fought Josh Taylor and he fought Lomachenko. They weren't active, and it was easier for him to beat those guys. But Lomachenko's not 140, so let's not get that twisted. But the fighters that he's fought, they haven't been active. And Subriel Matias is active. And he's a natural 140-pound boxer champion killer, the IBF champion of Puerto Rico. Give credit where credit is due. Subriel Matias is a problem, and a lot of people are avoiding him. A lot of the commentators, the boxing pundits, they don't want to mention him. But now, all of a sudden, he's getting recognized because he called out the boxers. He has to call them out because that's a big platform. He had a lot of views, like on the undercard of David Benavidez versus Demetrius Andrade. That was the opportunity to speak your piece, speak your mind, and call out all the other so-called elite boxing champions. And he did it. He called them all out. And I think that's the perfect opportunity to get people to talk about you because if you're quiet and you don't have the promotion directly through PBC, he's promoted under Fresh Boxing Production. Fresh Boxing Production from Puerto Rico. He fights with PBC on a fight-to-fight basis. He's not really with PBC. They have like a deal that they work out. So I just feel like he needs to be promoted by a bigger boxing company. Somebody that's going to take his career to the next level. Somebody that's going to pay him. And then Teofimo Lopez on the Sean Porter podcast said that he called me a coward. That's what so it got his attention. I thought that Teofimo Lopez was going to ignore what Subriel Matias said, but obviously he didn't. So, but he was saying that, he's a good boxer. To be a champion at 140, you have to be good. But at the same time, I'll knock him out in 4 rounds. That's what he said. He's not going to knock Subriel Matias out. That's not the kind of boxer that gets knocked out. He's not. He's built a different way. Subriel Matias is built a different way, and I feel like the way he's built, his life, his upbringing, the way he grew up, he was shot at. It determines how dedicated and how focused he is based on his situations and adversities that he overcame. But he trains different. Like if you're gonna go and fight him, you have to be prepared to deal with the windmill of combinations that he's coming at you. And he's strategic. He has defense. A lot of people need to stop sleeping on him. So I say, from now on, people have to recognize that that Subriel Matias is one of the most underrated boxers. But right now, his name is building traction in Puerto Rico. So he's going to be somebody that people need to fight because it's going to demand money. His name is going to demand money. Right now, his name doesn't demand as much money as a Ryan Garcia because of the popularity, social media foundation that he has, because he hasn't accomplished nothing. But this is what boxing is, a circus. You know, that's what they want. And real boxing fans want the real fights. And that's what it should be about. Like the way it was back in the days when Tito Trinidad was fighting. He fought De La Hoya. They were both accomplished boxers. They both had belts in different weight classes. And, well, Trinidad had 13 to 15 defenses of his belt. And De La Hoya already had accomplished a lot as well. So I feel like that's the kind of boxing that we need, the quality boxing that the fans really need. And I think Subriel Matias is forcing a lot of the mainstream to recognize who he is, because the hardcore boxing fans were speaking out on Pro Box TV. And I want to give credit to George Jakovic, who is a stand-up guy, and he actually acknowledged the things that I said in the comments, and they mentioned me in the channel, you know, in my comments. And I just feel like Paulie Malignaggi and wanted Subriel Matias to lose. They were looking for a reason to not give him credit to be the top three that the fans were saying that they should have put him in. He was finding a way to not prove that the fans were right about Subriel Matias, that they should put him in top three. So he was saying that, I don't think Subriel Matias is going to get past Ergashev, so he's not going to be in my top three. And then Chris Algieri said he's not in my top three. Like after what he did to Ergashev, when they were saying that Ergashev had chances to win, he was a live dog, but then they don't want to give him credit for his defense, because they don't want to look at it like Subriel Matias has defense. They want to look at him like he's just a brawler that gets hit, and that's not true. Subriel Matias would knock out Sean Porter. He would annihilate Sean Porter. And Sean Porter was a really good boxer, but he wasn't a defensive wizard. And he's talking about defense and saying that he's biased. Well, at least he's honest about being biased, but I don't respect that about him. I don't respect him about saying that he's biased. That's why he put Regis Prograis in the, number one. But at the same time, Regis Prograis is no defense wizard. He don't have more speed than Subriel. He don't have better defense than Subriel. He don't have more power than Subriel. He might have this equal power, maybe to an extent, but I think that Subriel is a different animal. He throws a lot of combinations, and Regis Prograis had trouble with Danielito Zorrilla, who is not even in the same level of Subriel Matias, and he was a boxer and a puncher. So, but what level? So he's gonna have trouble with I know for a fact that Regis Prograis is gonna have trouble with Devin Haney, but Devin Haney doesn't have a chin, so I feel like he has a puncher's chance to upset Devin Haney. But I think Devin Haney's gonna run a lot, box and a boring victory. He has no power, so it's gonna be a boring victory for Devin Haney. But Subriel Matias is what the 140-pound division needs. He said he will move to 147 for Keith Thurman, but he said for now he can make 140 for the rest of his career. That's what Subriel Matias said. So check out Subriel Matias said his next fight is going to be possibly in Puerto Rico. He's going to defend his belt for the second time. And he looked very impressive in his first defense of his IBF 140-pound championship. He defeated Jeremiah Ponce and knocked him out and made him quit too. He's going to make a lot of people quit. Subriel Matias is going to make Devin Haney quit, Regis Prograis quit, Rolly Romero, forget about it. You know what Subriel Matias said about that? Subriel Matias said that if he doesn't knock out Rolly Romero in 8 rounds, don't pay him. That's what he said. That's how confident Subriel Matias is in his abilities. He said that he's a clown, that Rolly Romero's a clown. He's a McDonald's champion. He don't even deserve to be mentioned. I respect what Subriel Matias said. It's true. He said that Rolly Romero does not deserve to be mentioned in the conversation. He's a McDonald's champion. And he said that Rolly Romero, that Subriel Matias said that if he doesn't knock out Rolly Romero in 8 rounds, don't pay him. Don't pay Subriel Matias if he can't knock him out in 8 rounds. I think he's going to knock him out before 8 rounds. I think he's just going to destroy Rolly Romero. Rolly Romero doesn't even deserve to be a champion at this point. So I feel like, you know, everybody who enjoyed this this video, you know, I'm a boxing fan, purist, and you know, I'm just a boxing fan. I just want the right fights to happen, to take place, to come to fruition. And you can check out my music. I got music on Spotify, Pandora, Tony Also, TonyALSO, stands for Always Learning, Surpassing Obstacles. That's what the acronym of my musician name is. So check me out. And I hope you enjoyed this video. Please press the subscribe button if you want to. If you don't, it's all good. You know, if you enjoyed the channel, yes. So, yeah, subscribe to my channel. Tony Also Knows Boxing. That's the name of the channel. One love. God bless. And to the next time, we're going to talk about most likely the Regis Prograis versus Devin Haney fight in December 9th. And we have another fight that's going to take place between Oscar Duarte. Who the hell's Oscar Duarte? He's going to fight Ryan Garcia. He's an undefeated fighter. He has power, but you know, I'm not impressed with the selection of the opponents for Ryan Garcia. I just feel like Ryan Garcia is not an accomplished boxer. He has no belts, so you know, they really believe in him and that he's good. He should go straight for the champion. But I get it. You know, you need a gimme fight. You need a warm-up fight before you fight to get your confidence up, because he got knocked out really bad and by Tank Davis. I think he quit. I think, like, you know, a real boxer would have got up and, you know, championship heart would have went for the, you know, got up and tried to win. But I get it. It's a dangerous sport. But yeah, Ryan Garcia, he's not on the level of Subriel Matias, man. Ryan Garcia he's gonna make Subriel Matias more famous if they fight, because he just has a lot of popularity. And I just feel like Ryan Garcia is not worthy of of championship status. He has no belt. He's just a popular fighter. That's it. All right. Thank you for tuning in. God bless. Tony Also.